Baku is finally showing that he's the kind of writer protagonist I want him to be. I've waffled on him a little bit. He seemed very goofy and too much like a loser for me to enjoy him at first. Then I thought he was getting a job with the police, but then he didn't, which kind of hampered things for me. But then again, he, even without having a full-time gig right now, I don't know if he's doing any gig work at all or full-time job. I mean, he is taking on his mission as Zero, as this agent for Code, very seriously. And as part of that mission for Code, he has been doing all these Kamen Rider things, but he's been listening to Zero and kind of has no choice. Zero is his superior. Zero is his mentor. Zero is, I believe, the fictional character who he's idolized for all these years. So we don't know if Zero is just an avatar that has appeared to him, because Code is supposedly a creation of his own dreams. It's what Baku has dreamed that he belonged to, that he is this Agent 7 of Code. And then he found out that it was a reality, that he was this invincible agent, even though he was kind of killed. He was this invincible agent. He is this invincible agent. He's becoming this invincible agent. And then we found out that that was something that was possibly done to him, that maybe Code is this organization that did something to him and these other kids at this cram school. At least that's what it looks like. And it looks like Odaka was involved with doing that. And by the end of the episode, we have the two of them leaving on equal terms and having reached an impasse, or rather an agreement with each other, where they both saved each other and they both helped each other in this serious way. And now they're going to part ways. And I think it's important to point out, too, that Baku was locked in this dream and Odaka was locked in a dream, unable to wake up. And the same thing was happening to Baku. And then by the end of it, Baku's able to wake up because he defeats the darkness nightmare that is stopping Odaka from waking up. And then Odaka is able to wake up. But it's unclear whether that's a good thing or a bad thing by the end of the episode. But we're not going to talk about that now. I'm going to go back and focus on this most interesting thing to me in the episode, which is that Baku is getting the resolve that he needs to be the man he needs to be, the hero he needs to be, and to do what has to be done. It really seemed like there was a very sharp contrast between him and Odaka from last episode, because Nox refused to face the darkness. He kept running away from the darkness, and Baku chose to face the darkness nightmare head on, and he was able to destroy it. In part because he seized his own darkness, his own nightmare, and drew power from it in the last episode, which he used again here, which was plasma. And it failed last time, or there was a break in the story, break in the episode last time, because he was unable to handle the darkness, the corruption of the nightmare, I guess you could say. We don't know why. A yellow capsum is a new thing. It seems to be outside of the red, green, blue, purple paradigm that we have, that Nox seems to know about, has a book about. Which I was beginning to think, where did this book come from? It doesn't really make any sense that it was there, and we're kind of losing that aspect of his character. But by the end of the episode, we see something that could make it seem, or that seems like it connects to where that book came from, which I find interesting. But again, focusing back on Baku and his resolve, his will, his rebellion, you could say, or his desire to do what he wants to and make his dream come true at any cost, or at great personal risk to himself. He has effectively now, like Nox, supposedly, betrayed Code, because he left his phone behind when he went to go face Nox. And when he did, when he went to go defeat the enemy, or eliminate the enemy, and he basically decided for himself that it wasn't Nox that was the enemy, it was the nightmare that was the enemy, even though Nox has been helping the nightmares. And I feel like he left his phone behind so that Zero could not spy on him, so that Zero could not hear what he was saying, and that Zero would be in the dark. And I think it's really interesting, because that whole scene where he goes back to the dream office, the HQ, happens after he and Nox withdraw from each other. Nox is warning him, and he's trying to get more answers from him, and he tells him to protect himself. And Baku never leaves the dream. He temporarily leaves, or he never leaves the dream world, let's call it. He does leave Nox's dream in particular, Daka's dream in particular, and then he goes to HQ and he is able to get all the capsums that he once had. And Zero says something really interesting to me. He says that it seems that we're of one mind, or something like that. Like basically their minds are in sync, because he was able to then access the power. Previously, he had tried to get more power after Nox had destroyed, or whatever, one of his capsums, like Recovery, which was gone, and he has now. No, he used Barrier. Barrier was destroyed, though. Barrier it turned into a monster, and then it got destroyed, and he has that back now. I think we're seeing a shift in Baku, where last episode he questioned, "Oh, you want me to just destroy this enemy without asking questions?" And he assumed that was Nox, and maybe it was Nox. I kind of think explicitly, but Zero did say for him to destroy Nox, and then he chose not to. He decided to instead destroy the Nightmare. But my point is that he had this mental resolve and this mental fortitude and this strength to get back all his capsums and to activate this new boost capsum. And I feel like it's because he's stepping out of Zero's shadow. He's stepping into his own, and he's taking ownership of who he is and the power that he has, and he's deciding what he's going to do with it without limits. He's already broken the limits a little bit and gotten this thunder or plasma capsum that he created it somehow by capturing his own nightmare of getting stricken by lightning. And now he's broken from the mission protocol. He didn't eliminate Nox. He instead chose to eliminate his nightmare, which it's interesting because we think that's a really good, noble, heroic thing. But it seems like by the end of the episode, we're seeing that it's not a good thing necessarily. Maybe there's a negative consequence to it that we'll talk about later. Because my point is, I really appreciate the growth that Baku is showing, and that he's choosing to rebel against the system, the individual that gave him power, to do what he feels is right. And I really appreciate that, because it's very much in the spirit of the original Kamen Rider. Also, the plasma form with its yellow next to the green on his face reminds me of the Shocker Rider #1, which had a yellow scarf and yellow gloves and yellow boots, I think. And Shocker Rider, if you can't guess, is a Kamen Rider created by Shocker in order to destroy the Double Riders, Hongo and Ichimonji. And they were created because they figured, hey, these riders, I don't know if they're from Shocker or Gel Shocker, probably Shocker on its last legs. Anyway, they decided to create other grasshopper kaijin, grasshopper cyborgs, because, hey, these grasshopper cyborgs are killing all our kaizening, and we need to stop them. So it makes sense to replicate the power, use the same battle platform, you could say, and take them out with that. And, I haven't seen the show, so I don't know how it worked out. But just the look of that reminds me of, and it was also in Shin Kamen Rider, right? Anyway, but the look of plasma kind of makes me think about a Shocker Rider. So I was thinking, is Baku becoming evil? Baku's breaking the system. He's breaking, and he's going against, he's rebelling. As much as Kamen Rider is like a victim who doesn't want to let other people become victims of the same victimizer, the same perpetrator, and then he fights against them and he uses their evil power against them, he's also in a way a rebel or a betrayer, because he was a Shocker member, or was supposed to have been a Shocker member, but instead of becoming a Shocker member, being brainwashed by them and being taken in by them and submitting to their will alone, his mind was left free and he chose to work against them. Baku's mind has not been altered beyond him forgetting things or having stuff wiped from his mind in that cram school, possibly. But he's choosing to actively go against the one who gave him power, which would be Zero in this case. And he's violating orders on purpose. And he's not doing his will, Zero's will, or Code's will. He's doing his own will. He's doing what he thinks is just, what he thinks is right. And I find that to be very interesting. And I don't know if that's the point of Zeztz. I don't know if that's just a little thing that Takahashi is playing with or what. But I think it's very powerful, and I think it's interesting that if we're going to get reinterpretations of Kamen Rider, I would love to just see more like a sequel to Kamen Rider with Fujioka's son, who would also be a Fujioka, I guess, cast as him and like playing out another season or whatever with him being eternally young, forever young Kamen Rider. Like I'd be okay with seeing more stories of him throughout the world doing different stuff, or even old Hiroshi Fujioka if he could do it, which I fully believe in him. Like I'd be interested in that. But if we're not going to get that, if we're not going to get sequels and continuations of the story, which I know people say sequels are weird, but again, that's a topic we can talk about another time, because I think I have a strong justification for sequels on sequels on sequels. But if we're not going to see that, if we're going to get reinterpretations of Kamen Rider, of this original story or this idea, then the elements that make it up should be taken and played with in interesting ways and examined from different angles. And I think that's what Takashi's doing here. And I think the rebellion of Baku and the way that he's choosing to stray from Zero and Code is giving us those vibes. It's giving us that dimension, that aspect of Kamen Rider in an important way. And I don't know what it means. I don't know what it's saying. I don't know if it's good or not, but I think it's interesting. And I'll be curious to see how the arc evolves throughout the rest of the show. I thought Boost was dumb. Didn't like the look of it. I could say other things about the show. I could talk about the thing that happened with Odaka at the end, but I'm not going to for now. I'm going to leave it here because I really wanted to talk about this idea of rebellion or betrayal or going against and being of your own mind. That seems to me to be a very important thing for Kamen Rider. And that's pretty much all I wanted to say about it. Anyway, you can check out my full Zeztz playlist. It'll be in the pinned comment. And you can tell me what you thought about this episode. Do you think I'm crazy for bringing up what I'm bringing up, or does it make sense to you? Did you sense kind of the same things? Are there other things that you hated about the episode, liked about the episode, wanted to talk about the episode that I didn't cover that we can discuss in the comments? I'm open to it. Let me know. Like, subscribe, share, do all that good stuff to help me grow the channel. And again, check the pinned comment if you want to go deeper into more of my Zeztz analysis as well as other things. Until next time, this is MJ with Rider Tears and Henshin Inspection signing out.